Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy Juro. It is Thursday, the 26th of October, 2017. I hope you are well. Hope your week is allowing you to grow. Granted, I know that this week there has been some eye-opening things, hopefully some validations, but more importantly, clarity. I'm jumping online today because of something that I saw last night. And it's kind of been bothering me. Not more or less of a nuisance, but it's been repetitive. I'm constantly seeing the same examples play out over and over again. And I'll go into that in a minute because I don't want to take up too much of your time. And I know I say that, but that's nothing but passion. Because I know that the intended heart and intended mind know exactly what I'm talking about. Have you noticed that humanity, compassion, the things that you value or should hold dear are being threatened? The days of feeling whatever's going on in your day, you're with it, good, bad, or indifferent. But I've noticed lately, family, underlining tension. Unlike it's been before, and it's been building. And you know me, I stay prayed up. I pray for those that I'm connected to by blood and bone, as does just as well as I pray for those that I'm fortunate to make contact with. I hope that if you're hearing my voice, you are well. I hope that you are one step closer to making your dreams a reality because we have control of what we manifest. Why? Because we're spiritual beings first. But as you turn on your TVs, as you take the time to enjoy what relaxation is or is interpreted, there is still a presence or a reminder how fragile that is. So last night, as I'm coming home from work, I noticed that my sensor for one of my tires came up. And like everybody, you go and fill it up. And when I stopped, the first low gas station I went to, the pump was out. I said, okay, I'm going to go to the next gas station that I know is available. And I did. Drove a little bit, got there, vehicle in front of me. And as I'm waiting, I happened to notice in one of the gas stalls, there was a car. And in that car was a young female. Minding my business, waiting for the person that was in front of me to fill up their tires. I noticed that this lady was in distress. It caught my eye. And as I focused on the person in front of me, waiting patiently, I heard her screaming. I heard her yell out a name. I looked over and I saw that this person was upset, very upset. I proceeded to wait. As the car finished and started to move, I noticed that this person had not, was just moving the vehicle up a little closer to the gas pump. And I noticed that this woman's octave in her distress had gotten up a couple octaves more. It got my attention. As I looked over, something just did not seem right. It didn't. Because her body mannerisms did not match to what was going on, the cause. And then I noticed, the more I focused on minding my business, the higher the octaves had gotten. That was nothing but a show. And I realized real quickly that this was nothing but a con, hoping that this distress would trigger for the hero to come upon and say, what's going on? How are you? All right. But we're not in the days of being compassionate anymore, family, because we are in the age of the opportunists. And I knew very quickly that this person wanted to only shake down my pockets if I allowed. So I proceeded to fill up my tires on my Jeep and drive to the first immediate parking spot. I went inside the gas station and got what I needed to come right back out to see this person calm, because another person had come along as if nothing happened and she got what she wanted. Here's the point I'm trying to make, family. You've got to be aware of your surroundings, because the surroundings as you think they are not what they seem. So when I came home, I jumped online and looked at the headlines, and I noticed that there was a lot of traffic through major headlines about potential unrest planned for November 4th. And I knew in my spirit that I saw a commonality being shown again. Now, first of all, what is it going to take for you to stay focused? You're going to have to make a decision to go through your priorities, and you're going to have to make a decision to let go of some associations. You're saying, well, Joe, why are you saying this? Because there are those that look just like you, people that you're related to, that are blatantly trying to distract you from your happiness? How about your emotional safety? But you don't hear people talk about that. We tend to just shrug it off, like, it ain't got nothing to do with me. That's none of my business. But indirectly, it is. It affects you. So I'm going to throw this out right now to my parents. I know right now you're doing this. It feels like you're on a tightrope right now because you're the parent, and sometimes you have to make decisions for what's best for your children that are not popular. Don't sway from that. Protect them from what they do not know, what they can't understand. It's okay. Now, with this, all this traffic about this unrest that potentially is going to occur on November 4th. See, the devil's working. So it only takes 5 seconds for you to pick up that phone, to call someone, and just say, hi, how you doing? I was thinking about you. Just 5 seconds. If you haven't done that, what's keeping you from it? Is it fear? Is it pride? Is it ego? Or is it distractions? I'm saying this for a reason. Now more than ever, family, I got my coffee, cheers. There are people that don't want you to see your dreams come to pass. There are also people that want to threaten your safety too. You see it. It's not coincidence when you're on the highway and they're high beaming you. It's not coincidence that the, how can I say it? The way people are driving is more intense. But that does not give you permission to follow suit. Here's the reason why I'm saying it. We've always heard the urban legend or the underlining comments, may it be at your water cooler, may it be you're just out and about and you hear people talk, and it never fails. There's always talk of civil unrest. There's a race war. But what I find really ironic is, why is it that no one has taken into account that if it's public, it's not private? Why is it no one has taken into consideration that this tool right here, which is all it is the same tool to go after what's most precious, is your mind, your perceptions. Do you realize how many people are radicalized, or because radicalization is nothing but to be inspired through imagery, or no matter how they convey it. You know, like, I mean, think about it. You've got these extremist groups out here. What's the difference from the ones overseas compared to the ones that are domestically here? It's the same tactic. But what nobody takes in consideration is this. Do you actually think Those who are in the position of the top 5% will feel the effect because they won't. They will be protected. They won't even hear about it. It'll never make it to where they call home. Why? Because they've already saw this play out long ago. So you got all these idolizations going on, all these people coming up saying you need to do this, you shouldn't do that, and he's saying this and she's saying that. What's important to you? Shouldn't having a peace of mind or just being able to relax wherever you lay your head be primary? Shouldn't that matter? How about the safety of your children? For those that live in the United States, you know that Halloween's coming up. But we see more push for profit than we do in our children. Does it surprise you? It shouldn't. Because it all falls down to one thing: choice. Just like you have the choice to cut this off and you don't have to hear what I have to say. But I'm going to still convey this as well, because this is not for everybody. Until you make a decision to see the priority in your life, don't think about protecting it. Don't even think about trying to guide it, because it matters not. It only matters when you decide it does. So there's a price that's going to be called for. You're going to have to make a choice. The choice is, are you going to choose you? Or are you going to choose the reaction from it? Now, I know for some, it seems like I'm talking in metaphors. This is not for everybody. If you can't see that now more than ever, there is a literal spiritual battle going for here, you're not going to understand that. Because there are thousands of things that can distract your day. I ain't got to tell you. You already know. From the time that you turn the radio on to the time you cut the TV off at night, there is just a plethora of things out there that just wants your time. But you dictate it. From who you break bread with and who you spend money for. You make that choice. But what really concerns me is our children. Our children don't even realize that they're being set up to fail. Yeah, I said that. They are being set up to fail. I say this right off the bat. If you have a child that is in grammar school, we're talking from kindergarten to junior high, right? How often do they study? When's the last time you seen them bring a book home? And I understand you may have a school that are pushing the use of laptop. Get familiar with the laptop because we want to be more competitive internationally. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But what about the tools needed for proper knowledge? That book, those tools called a pencil, paper, taking notes. If you don't have these things, you cannot critically think. And if you cannot critically think, how are you going to have logic? How can you gain insight? How are you able to mold wisdom? A lot of times people learn through their mistakes. A lot of times people just won't because they're set in their ways and they take on an ideology of this is who I am, what it's going to be. But you set that tone. That's all I'm trying to say. You dictate that, just like you dictate your happiness. It doesn't come with that band of gold. It doesn't come through validation of how many people you slept with. It can't be found through that job promotion or that job opportunity. It all comes from here, with inside you. That's why you always will always hear me say, fall back in love with yourself. The greatest lesson you're going to ever learn is you. Responsibility that comes with that. And I know it can be blunt sometimes when I say, not everybody is going to know your story. Just as not everybody's going to be afforded the right to hear you breathe. That's not a bad thing. But it seems now more than ever, fear, ignorance, and downright denial. Those are the three things that are being pushed for acceptance. You don't have to be accepted by anybody except the person in the mirror. So now, what's going to happen? God willing, it won't. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to take on a position of martyrdom, and they're going to think, well, this is what my beliefs to do, and that is the sacrifice that's required. There's no sacrifice on this planet that can measure your life. Did you hear me? There's no sacrifice on this planet that is measured that can replace your life. That's why you have so many people that are followers, but they never question where are they being led to. I thought it was kind of ironic. Was the beginning of this year when we started to see all this unrest on these college campuses, and it fell back onto, well, I don't agree with that person's position, so I'm going to turn around and protest. You have a right to protest, but you don't have a right to cause harm just because. You do understand that there are a certain demographic of people that already believe that the planet is overpopulated. You understand that, right? You better, if you don't, you better look at those. One of the prime examples is the Georgia Guidestones. It is real. And then there are those that believe that, hey, you ain't got a purpose, you don't need to breathe. So let them argue it out. Let them fight it all, because then that's one less person that has to pay for that I have to give my tax dollars to. Because no one's taking into to account the fact that, number one, we are failing as parents. Our children are looking at our examples, but we, as the adults, still choose not to look at the examples of those who have come before us as well as those who have failed. Do we not have history? So now there's a underlining siege of negative input being infused into social media. There are actually people that believe that, you know, separation is good. How they're very deceived, how sad. But at the end of the day, it is free will. It is. But what's really disappointing, that's someone's son, someone's daughter, that's someone's mother, that's someone's brother, that are not taking into account that your life is fragile, it's priceless. Now let me turn the page on this. See, while you're dancing to the beat, spending your hard-earned money, there are those that the general population was mocking. They were laughing. It's like, why are these people being extreme and they're going off the grid? Why are all these people? Why does it seem like they have a position, but they don't want to use the word that they're radical? They are recruiting and radicalizing just as much. You're doing the same thing, but calling it something different. It's still fear. It's still hate. It's still denial. And what's really sad, the main people that want to use this platform won't even take accountability. That's why they do it behind closed doors. That's why they do it without showing their face. That's why they do it, because they have low self-esteem. And truthfully, they hate who they are. They look just like you. The biggest ruse out there is you think that the other person is the opposition. Why are you getting caught up on your melanin when you need to be caught up in your character? Because guess what? Fearmongers, racists, extremists, they're not born. They're taught. So my parents, make it a point to get in your kids' business. Some of y'all are going to be shocked. Some of y'all are going to have a hard time lifting your own head, because the truth be told is they didn't learn it out of the streets. They learned it from you. Listen, a behavior embraced is a behavior condoned. So if you don't like how Junior is smelling himself, when's the last time you had a conversation with Junior? When's the last time you actually listened? Because rebellion is nothing but acting out. But the kicker is, what are they acting out about? What is it that is drawing them away from their true self? Your little baby girl, she was cute when she walked around the house in a little ballerina dress. Now she's grown and she can't keep her clothes on. And you're shocked because it's all over social media. The question should be asked, what were you doing, or what was you not? This is not a jab. If you're taking this as I'm just trying to chastise you, I'm not, because I don't have to do this. What I'm trying to do is bring awareness to what matters most. Shouldn't that be your legacy? Come on, Kings. You call yourself a man, but are you doing what's required? No. And the big because look. This same thing applies to women to think because you got a bunch of children that makes you a good mother. No, it doesn't. That just means that your vessel is healthy enough to carry it. But if your emotional state is not where it needs to be, guess what? Your kids are the first ones going to feel it. Now more than ever, family, we need to circle our wagons. You're going to have to make a decision on what's important to you because all that stuff that's found in the world will be in the world when you're dead and gone. You know that little hash mark that you see on those tombstones? Born, died. That's your lifeline. Meanwhile, there are those that have been they've been born into a family system that they will not understand because it's given to them. That is why this generation today has an air of self-entitlement. They don't understand the value of that monetary note. They got you. Listen, some can listen. This is I don't wish bad on nobody, but the way that we're going as as a community, as well as a society, we're doing this, family. We got fathers that want to play G.I. Joe and get armed to the teeth, but yet won't have the strength or the fortitude to go into that recruiter's office to take that oath. But yet you call yourself a patriot. Really? If you didn't serve, you're not a patriot. That is a earned title. So is veteran. I know I'm one of them. But you look at the irresponsibility of what's put out, force fed. Some call it propaganda, some call it entertainment. You don't think that there's not a remnant of that that sits on your psyche? Why do you think your daughter acts so provocative? She learned it somewhere. She heard it from somewhere. It's a known fact. A person will emulate the five most influential people in their direct life. Who's the influence? Shouldn't it be you? Lastly, while y'all turn around laughing but crying in the same breath, let me tell you what some people are doing. There are some people that are preparing themselves to defend themselves. Is it no surprise that within the last 2 years, you've had more people go out and uh, request uh, concealment licenses? Did you know that? And you know who the number one uh, consumer in that market is? Women. So you've got a lot of women out there that have evolved from I'm clutching my purse because I don't know if you're going to take it to no, I'm going to just blow your face off. But yet, these same people of the people that are new owners, 25% of them are going to end up shooting themselves. And the other 25% are going to be, unfortunately, a victim of burglary, which means their hard earned money to go get something to protect you is going to end up back on the streets. Now, let me tell you something. I'm all for protecting your home. This is not a NRA bash. No. Mm-mm. You work too hard. You work too hard. And your sanctuary should feel protected. But think about it. You're spending money on surveillance. You're spending money on internal surveillance, home security. You're spending money. Everybody's watching what you're doing, but you ain't watching what you're doing. But nobody takes in consideration of this one thing. You dictate. You dictate it. You dictate it all. That's why you don't hear anybody taking accountability. Why is it? Why is it the things that should matter most, we still are not sitting at the table? Because a lot of people see the benefit of the commodity, the gain, but nobody wants to take accountability for it. Just that self-entitled mentality. None of that matters. I'll prove my point. Ask somebody that went through the hurricane in Louisiana, in Texas, in Florida, in Virginia, in the Virgin Islands, in Puerto. Ask them. You think you ain't got no millionaires down there that lost everything? You can't put a price on a picture. You can't bring back an heirloom when it's gone. We get too distracted on things that shouldn't matter. That's why I'm a firm believer the greatest gift you'll ever give a person, if they earn the right, is for you to be present, to watch them grow. Trust me, there's a lot of people on this planet. Hell, ask somebody who's a non-custodial parent but wants to be in their child's life. But because of the attitude that the judge saw fit, you think they're not using that to hurt the non-custodial? Because trust and believe, there's a lot of good moms and dads that want nothing more but to be in their child's life, but because the judicial system sways the way it does, or who has better representation, that doesn't get talked about, now does it? Lastly, it might not matter to you, but right under your nose, your children are being indoctrinated to become atheists. Did you know that? They're teaching them to think like man, not allow God his rightful place. But still, you have atheists. And listen, that's why God, even though you don't want to claim it, He gave you two gifts the moment you took your first breath. One was to unconditionally love yourself. Why is it that one gift is so hard to do, especially as you mature? Why is it the most precious thing you could ever do is so hard for you to do? Why? Hmm? Maybe because you won't take accountability for what matters most. Maybe it's because there's truth there that you don't want to look at because you know if you look at that truth, it's going to give you truth. And you want to circumvent that. It doesn't work that way. That's why you're struggling now. But they're going after your babies. And the people, the children that are in that, whatever their ideologies that are found at home, are bringing that right back to school. And they're aligning themselves with like-minded people. And those are going to be future adults, family. Why aren't we talking about that? Meanwhile, a lot of your states are going to be voting. You do understand your most important vote that you're going to cast is not on the state level, it's the local level. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. It is. Because those people live in your communities. You choose who represents you. And then again, I know there's some people that are going to say, I don't care. I ain't voting. Then don't complain. Because there's a lot of people that are going to go vote and they're going to treat that voting box like it's like they're at the casino. They're going to just click, click, or do, 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 A, B, C, D. Don't complain. Don't complain. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, a liberal, Tea Party. Don't complain. If it don't represent you and you do nothing, be silent. You basically gave a vote for the people that not going to represent you anyway. Now, lastly, stop worrying about things you have no control over. You have control over what is in your home and what you interact with every day. You control that. That's your choice. Just like I said, you can cut this off at any time. This is not for everybody. But if you're spending your day frustrated, cloudy, you, you know, when's the last time you had a good, nice sleep? I'm talking to you. Because guess what? You know how they always talk about the haves and the have not? First of all, those who have decided to invest in themselves first. And that price was they had to let some things go. You can't go forward if you're living in your past, family, or if you're living in your fears. Every time you choose to live in your fears, you rob yourself. But maybe that's what makes you insecure to begin with. Maybe that's the reason why you feel that you got to separate yourself. Maybe that's the real reason you're in denial. Because the person that you really need to address is the person that you see first thing in the morning. That beautiful person. So it doesn't surprise me in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, when you're on that public highway, people treat it like NASCAR these days. But yet still won't put this damn thing down. You do realize when you're driving and you got this, that person that's doing this is basically saying non-verbally, I don't care about your life. Matter of fact, I don't care about mine. All it takes is 2 seconds to look away and your life is forever changed. Here's another thing too, and I'm going to bring this home. I don't know where you live at, And but I do notice a trend that people are coming up missing to the point you're starting to see a lot of young moms and children just boom, gone. Find the car, find the cell phone, don't find them. Does that not make you wonder where they go? I know there's some people going to say, well, Gerald, if a person doesn't want to be found, they ain't going to be found. Well, it's kind of hard to do that in 2017 when everything basically surveillance. Everything, there's eyes in the sky. Orville was right. Um, yeah, it was like Orwell or H.G. Wells. I think it was Orwell. About Big Brother. Nowadays, if it's got a cursor beaming, a little word like there's a camera there. And that's the world that we've grown accustomed to. From your public roads, no, everything is trackable. That cell phone is nothing but a giant RFID chip. You do know that, right? Every time you go by a tower, click. Every time you go into a building, click. Every time you use your credit cards, click. It all gets tracked. And I know some people are like, well, you know what, Gerald? That pisses me off because I'm not free. You know you're not free. You're not free. You only become free when you start using technology. That's your choice. You want to go live in the woods and grow a victory garden? Have at it. But does it surprise you that there's well over 1 million people doing that now? Just as much as we've got a lot of our younger generation are taking self-defense courses now. They're at the firing ranges now. It wasn't like that 10 years ago. It wasn't like that 5 years ago. So if you don't think we're in our last days, and I'm not saying live in fear, I'm saying make a choice to live. That's all I'm saying. Because as you already know, life is too short. It's precious. So you got to make a decision. You want to live doing this the rest of your days or stand for something? How about your last name? I mean, if anything, for the people whose bloodline you carry, you know, your grandmother, your great grandfather, your uncles, that auntie that you loved so much, but God called her home. Who am I talking to? This video is not for everybody. This is for the intended. If you woke up today with frustration, non-clarity here, I'm asking you to make a choice. Because trust, there's countless people out there that hope that you stay the course. They don't want you. They want you to be just like them. Miserable. So, as I always say, do you know who you are? Because if you did, you would know what you stand for and what you represent. If not for you, how about your babies and the generations that you won't get to see that will come from behind you? God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. For that. It helps me discern mine. If you If you're waking up with hate in your heart, you ain't living. And here's a kicker on that. Those people that you have grudges to grind, axes to grind against, they are controlling you without, and they ain't even nowhere near you. They got you. Don't even see that. Don't even see it. And you wonder, look, hey Queen, I told y'all a long time ago, stop acting like the girlfriends or the people that are sitting on those podiums, you know, sitting up there like on those pedestals. Every one of them gonna fall. You know why they put them up there? So you won't see that the person that's most beautiful in the mirror looking back. Be blessed.